Some people believe that the sons of Japheth are the Caucasians. Reverend Walter Arthur McCrae, the servant leader of the Christian black community, say in his book entitled The Black Presence in the Bible on page 109, second paragraph, and I quote, Japheth's descendants included Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus, and he backs this up with Genesis 10:2. These people are the ancestor of the Indo-European, Caucasian, people. And this reverend gets his teachings from Reverend Blackledge also. Another black Christian who believes that the white man descended from Japheth. Reverend S.C. Blackledge says on page 55 of his book An Open Book on Hidden Mysteries chapter 8 that the Gentiles are all white people of every country wherever found or represented through Japheth as recorded in Genesis 10:2, 4 and 5. Reverend Blackledge published his book in 1925 AD, and Reverend Walter Arthur McCrae just started writing about this in 1990 AD, 75 years after Reverend Blackledge wrote this book, so McCrae just copied the information from his book. This is a very good point to address. Japheth is also often misinterpreted as the father of the Caucasians. The name Japheth means to add on, and that is exactly what he did. Because in Genesis it speaks of the genealogy of the family of Noah after the flood. Chapter 10 verse 2 tells you that the sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. Japheth's son Javan is the son we are concerned with here, who is found in verse 4 to 5 of the same chapter, and I quote, And the sons of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim and Dodan, and by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after his family and their nations. This is where some Israelites get confused at. They say Javan is the father of the Caucasians because Javan's wife name was Iris and she was of the tribe of the Hivites of the cursed albino Canaanites, Genesis 10:15-18. Their offsprings were called Edomiah, a Greek form of saying Edom. These Edomites are not the same Edomites of Mount Seir from Esau, though they mixed in. They even went on as Greeks, having descendancy to the family of Noah through Japheth and Javan, which is short fair Java, and living in the caves of the Caspian area. They became known as the cave men. The Java man was short and walked in a stooped position. Through mixing his seed with the sons of Canaan by way of the tribe of Hivite, this Java man is really Javan, son of Japheth's seed after they mixed with the Amorite. Genesis chapter 10, Japheth's son Javan, which means clay in the Aramaic, Hebrew, tongue, is called the father of the Greeks known as the Caucasians, which is Caucus, which is a phonetic derivative of carcass meaning dead. In fact, Abraham's involvement with them is why they use the term abracadabra when speaking of magicians and magic, which comes from Ibrad, a crossover, and cadaver meaning a dead body, a corpse. They just add Asian meaning Orientalist. And you get carcass Orientalists. The name Yavin is the Aramaic, Hebrew, interpretation of the Greek word laon or Ionian, which is a general term in the scriptures for the race Lonians or Greeks. They are the Java man, son of Javan or Javanites. Herod the Great is called son of Idumean Antipater. This is not the same Herod that wanted to kill Jesus of 2,000 years ago. Herod was the ruler of Judea under Julius Caesar and king under Augustus, ruling over the children of Israel for 33 years from 374 BC. He was called son of Idumean, the Greek form of saying Edomite. So Japheth was responsible by way of integrating with the Hivites of breeding brown hair, auburn hair to almost black hair, black-eyed Greeks without directly having the infectious skin disease called leprosy. Yes, they were of the albino race, but this is not where the Caucasians originated. The African Hebrew Israelites community of Jerusalem, originally of Chicago, headed by Ben Ami Ben Israel, says that the Caucasians started by way of the curse of leprosy and refer you to 2 Kings chapter 5, which is the story of Gehazi, the servant of the prophet Elisha. Gehazi, meaning valley of vision, was cursed because he was greedy. He was more interested in the material things of life, and because of this the curse of leprosy became his and his descendants all the days of their lives. There was a commander named Naaman who was greatly known and respected by the king of Syria. He was one of the Syrian army's greatest soldiers, but he had leprosy, 2 Kings 5:1. In one of the Syrians' invasion they took an Israelite girl and had her become a servant of Naaman's wife, Hider. One day the little girl told her mistress that she wished that Naaman could go to the prophet Elisha that lived in Samaria. She knew that the prophet Elisha would be able to cure Naaman of leprosy. When Naaman found out that he could be cured, he told the king of Syria about it, and the king sent him to Israel with a letter telling the king of Israel that he wanted him to cure Naaman of his dreadful diseases. When the king of Israel read the letter, he was deeply insulted because he thought that the king of Syria was trying to say that he was Yahuwah. When the prophet Elisha heard about this, he told the king to send Naaman to him. When Naaman arrived with his horse and chariot, the prophet Elisha sent one of his servants to tell Naaman to wash himself 7 times in the Jordan River and he would be completely cured of leprosy. However, Naaman refused because he thought the prophet Elisha would pray to Yahuwah and would be cured immediately after this. The servant of the prophet Elisha went back and told Naaman, "If the prophet had told you to do something difficult, you would have done it." In other words, why can't he simply go and wash himself 7 times? Finally, Naaman went and washed himself and was cured. After he was cured, he offered Elisha a gift as a payment, but Elisha refused. So instead, Naaman asked for the earth of the ground as a sign that he was now faithful in Yahuwah. When he was on his way back to Syria, he had only went a short way when Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, went after him, trying to catch up to him. When Naaman noticed someone chasing him, he stopped his horses and chariots and asked Gehazi did he need help, and Gehazi replied no. But then he went on to lie about 2 visitors visiting Elisha and asked Naaman for 3,000 pieces of silver and 2 changes of clothes. Naaman gave him the clothes and 6,000 pieces of silver. Instead, when Gehazi reached the house, Elisha questioned him about his whereabouts. Gehazi lied by saying he hadn't gone anywhere. But Elisha reminded Gehazi that he was there in spirit when Naaman came out of his chariot. Then Elisha told him this is not the time to accept the material things, and Elisha said, Gehazi, from now on you should have Naaman's disease and your descendants will have it forever. And when Gehazi left Elisha, he was white as snow. 2 Kings chapter 5. The point is, if Gehazi is the man that started the Caucasian race by way of the curse of leprosy, how do you explain leprosy before Gehazi that was suffered by the commander Naaman? Or better yet, how do you explain the curse of leprosy of Canaan? Genesis 9:25. So are the Edomites the Israelites' brothers? All of the black Israelite Hebrews and the likes will have to say no, because they teach that the Edomites are the wicked white race, and it's emphasized by the Israelite church in their leaflet. They say, and I quote, "All so-called white people are the devil on earth, according to the Bible." Regardless of what false nationalities they now go by, they are all one nation. They are all Edomites, the wicked descendants of Esau. And other so-called black Hebrew organizations who share this same belief will have to say no as well. They all claim the Edomites are the wicked pale race. However, according to Deuteronomy 23:7, it tells you that Edomites are the Israelites' brothers. And don't let them try to change up now and say, of course we are brothers in the sight of God, or Esau was Jacob's brother. That does make us brothers, because that's not how they use it. They use it as the Edomites are devils and they, the so-called Israelites, are good. Yet their God uses it as the Edomites are your brothers, don't hurt them. Let's look at the quote that says the Edomites are your brothers, and I quote, Deuteronomy 23:7, "You will not detest an Edomite, for he is your brother. You will not detest an Egyptian, because you are a sojourner and is part of the planet Earth." If you look up the word brother in Aramaic, Hebrew, you will get the word akh, which means brethren, brother, brotherly. And if you look in Deuteronomy 2:4-5, the Lord, Yahuwah, is talking to Moses, an Israelite, and tells him that it is okay to kill the Amorites, but do not bother the children of Esau, the Esauites whom you call Edomites, whom you call the wicked devils. Deuteronomy 2:4-5, and commanded the nation of people, saying, "You are to cross over the border of your brothers the children of Esau, Hari 1, Edomites, that dwell in Seir, and they will be afraid of you. Take exceeding heed to yourselves, therefore, do not fight with them, for I will not give you of their part of the planet Earth, no, not so much as for the sole of the foot to track on, because I have given the Har, Mount Seir, to Esau for a possession." Also, if you look in Deuteronomy 7:1-3, it tells you again not to take a wife from the Canaanites. Let's make a note right here, because there are also a large amount of Nubians who teach that we are the Canaanites. Like the Moorish Science Temple, who used to call themselves the Canaanites Temple. Think for one moment. The God of your Bible, whether you call him Yahweh, Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, Elohim, Elyon, Adonai, Hashem, doesn't give a hoot about the Canaanites. He takes their land right from under them and gives it to Israel right in Genesis 17:8. Just chase them out of their land, and is supported by Deuteronomy 7:1-3. Then he tells Abraham and his seed not to take a wife from amongst them in Genesis 24:3. Repeats the same thing to his son Isaac, Genesis 28:1, not to marry them. Then in Leviticus 13 refers to them as the cursed lepers, and continues straight on to Leviticus 14, where it reiterates that he gave you their land and put a plague in the house of that land, meaning the people, Leviticus 14:33. Then they tell you that they lost their spirit, soul, in Joshua 5:1. Then it tells you that it's alright to kill them, Deuteronomy 2:4-5, 7:1-3. Then again it says they are born like dogs without their navels cut in Ezekiel 16:4. Then Jesus wouldn't answer a Canaanite woman in Matthew 15:22-26. Then it tells you in Numbers 21:3 that the Lord let the Canaanites be utterly destroyed by the Israelites. And the list goes on and on. None of these things are said ever about the Edomites or the people of Gehazi. Did it ever dawn on you that you people just might be wrong? If not, then why does the Most High allow all of this to happen to the Canaanite people if they were blacks? They are Phoenician related, and there were black Canaanites and Phoenicians from Canaan's son Hamath, Genesis 18:18, by his wife Salah, his half-sister. but all Canaanites and Phoenicians were not Nubians. Deuteronomy 7:1, when Yahuwah Elohim will bring you into that part of the planet Earth you are entering to possess, and will cast out many Gentile nations from your face, the Hittite descendant of Heth, the Girgashite rough ones, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite to breach, the Hivite tent dwellers, and the Jebusite desolate, dryness, 7 Gentile nations, cursed seed, more mightier than you. And right in Deuteronomy 7:2, it tells you to kill the Amorites. Deuteronomy 7:2, and Yahuwah Elohim will deliver them up from in front of your face, and then you will kill them, then you will utterly seclude them. You will make no covenant with them nor show mercy grace unto them. A small note, could this mean that in Deuteronomy 2:4, where you find the Aramaic, Hebrew, word brethren, och, and Deuteronomy 18:18, where you find the same word brethren, but in this case, the Lord is saying that a prophet is going to come to Israel from their brethren? Could this mean you are to expect an Edomite prophet? That's what it says. Now back to the point. Deuteronomy 2:5 goes on to say, and I quote, "Meddle not with them, for I will not give you of their land, no, not so much as a foot breadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession." Now let's look at the word meddle in Aramaic, Hebrew, and you get the word gorah, and it means to stir up, strife, excite, strife. The word strife in the American Heritage Dictionary is defined as 1. Heated, often violent dissension, bitter conflict, 2. A struggle, fight, or quarrel, and 3. Contention or competition between rivals. So Deuteronomy 2:4-5 is telling you not to bother, have conflict, bicker, fight, or cause strife with the Edomites because they are your brethren. Now, if God told you not to give the Edomites, who you say is the white race, problems in Deuteronomy 2:5, and I quote once again, meddle not with them, then why are some groups of Hebrew Israelites, so-called black Jews, in particular the Israeli church standing on 125th Street in New York, screaming and yelling, calling them all kinds of names like wicked white devil, honky, threatening them, talking about how they are going to attack their white women twofold, taken from one of their videotapes, and trying to harm them? Why is the Israeli church and all other Hebrew Israelites going against the commandments of their God? And as I stated earlier, you cannot say that one brother, meaning Jacob, is black while the other, meaning Esau, is white when both of them came from 2 Negro, Nubian, parents unless it is done through genetic splicing. Also in Deuteronomy 7:1, you see where Yahuwah tells the Israelites that it is all right to kill the Canaanites, the real Caucasian race. However, it does not mention the Edomites, the Oriental race. It says, and I quote, Deuteronomy 7:1, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou, and when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them, and utterly destroy them, thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. This quote is telling you that it is okay to destroy the Amorites and massacre the Canaanites. It is okay to destroy Sihon, the Amorite king of Heshbon, Deuteronomy 2:24, and Og the king of Bashan, Deuteronomy 3:3, but don't touch your brothers, the children of Esau, Edomites. It is going to be very difficult to try turn the Edomites worse than the Amorites. And remember, it was the Canaanite tribes that your God told the Israelites not to marry and intermingle with in Genesis 28:1, not the Edomites. In Malachi chapter 1 verses 2-3, where it says that God says he loved Jacob but hated Esau, and I quote, I have loved you saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith the Lord, yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau. And the Aramaic, Hebrew, word being used is the root word soneh, meaning to hate. And if you look in Exodus 25, you will find the same word soneh where Yahuwah is talking about the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation of them that hate. Now, look at Leviticus 19:17 where it says thou shalt not hate thy brother. The same word och is being used for brother. So you are not to hate Esau's children, the Edomites. Now read Numbers 10:35 and Deuteronomy 19:11. If you hate them, this is what God says will happen to you. And don't say all of a sudden we don't hate them, when you say repeatedly that you hate them and they are your enemy. The same root word soneh is used in Proverbs 6:16 also, where the Lord hates 7 things. They are 1. A proud look, that's you all. 2. A lying tongue, that's you all. 3. Hands that sheds innocent blood, that's you all. 4. A heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, that's you all. 5. Feet that be swift in running in mischief, that's you all. 6. A false witness that speaketh lies, that's you all. 7. And he that soweth discord among brethren, that's you all. In Isaiah 61:8 the same word for hate is used by the Lord, Yahuwah, for I the Lord love judgment, I hate robbery for burnt offerings. And now just look at this quote, Deuteronomy 1:27, and I quote, and ye, the Israelites, murmured, whispered, and your tents, Ohel, tabernacles, and said, because the Lord, Yahuwah, hated us, Son-A, he hath brought us forth out of Egypt into the hand of the Amorite to destroy us. Now let's see you try to turn this one around. It clearly says Yahuwah hates you Israelites, and you're using the same word as Malachi 1 uses for hate. So Yahuwah hates you Jacobites, the same way he hates Esauites. And he led you to the Amorites to destroy you. You guys are confused. You're pointing the arrow at the wrong people, calling them devil, here in what you call the wilderness. And the saga continues in Deuteronomy 9:28, and I quote, lest the land whence thou broughtest us out say, because the Lord was not able to bring them into the land which he promised them, and because he hated them, he hath brought them out to slay them in the wilderness. Make note of the word hate being used again. So Malachi 1:3, and I hated Esau, is no worse than Deuteronomy 1:27, where Yahuwah hates you and the word Sinah is used and is from the root word Son-A. And if that makes them devils, hated of God, then that makes you devils, hated of God also. Again, all of you are misusing the word hate and attributing it to God and making him look hateful. And I know him as a loving being. Another point, throughout Deuteronomy where they talk about Esau, the only place you find Edomite is in 23-7. In the other quotes you never see the term Edomites. It says children of Esau. So again, there must have been a tribe called the Esauites who became Edomites when they conquered the Horites of Mount Seir. Genesis 14:6. Genesis 14:6 clearly points out that Seir belonged to the Horites, meaning cave dwellers, and when you add Am, which is the Aramaic Hebrew word for nation of people, to the word Horites, you get the word Amorites.